Thanks so much for sharing your garden with us. Now we're going to learn about vines for Central Texas. Vines have kind of an aggressive personality trait, but we're going to tell you about some that you can keep in good working order in your garden. I'm joined by Colby Adams from Barton Springs Nursery, and it's great to have you with us, Colby.
Good to be here, Tom.
Well, you have brought along a wide variety of cool vines for Central Texas, some of which are completely new to me, so I'm excited to talk about those. Vines play all sorts of roles in the garden. They can provide screening. They're a very useful plant. I was joking around a little bit at the beginning, thinking about the aggressive tendencies. You do have to watch out for that in some.
Definitely. There's a few that you want to make sure you give plenty of space to and expect to take care of the runners.
Right, but for the most part, the ones that you brought are on the A list. They're well behaved. Let's start with Carolina jessamine. This is one that is native to Texas. It's a beautiful plant. I always think of that wonderful fragrance in the springtime. It's one of the signals of spring for me.
Definitely, early bloomer in the spring, native mostly to East Texas and further east. Definitely likes a regular watering regimen, evergreen, deer resistant, and gets pretty big. Mm-hmm. Grows at a pretty good rate for a vine. You should get coverage as fast as any other.
Right, and yellow flowers. It doesn't bloom for a long period of time. No. It's only a couple weeks, really.
A couple weeks of real, if it gets enough sun, very dense flowers.
Yes, it can be absolutely covered in these beautiful trumpet-shaped yellow flowers. And again, the fragrance is really special.
Definitely.
Very good. And this is a plant, I use it in full sun, but I think it will also perform fairly decently in part shade, right?
Yeah, part shade, you'll still get a good quantity of blooms. Below that, it might start to look a little leggy and start to get pretty spotty.
Right. This is allegedly deer resistant, right?
Allegedly. I think I've seen a few where the deer have left them alone, but there's also a few where the deer have snacked on them.
Okay, well, it's a great plant nonetheless. I like to use it on fences. It just kind of winds its way through. And
definitely a twining vine for a fence or a lattice.
Right. Now, right next to the Carolina jessamine that you brought in, we have something called Pandora vine.
Brought in a variegated Pandora vine. There is a standard green as well.
Okay.
I personally like the variegated version a little better. It's a little more interesting. Has a nice, fragrant, little mid-sized pink, almost morning glory shaped bloom, but a lot more fragrant than a morning glory.
Really? Okay.
They are perennial and go dormant in the winter. Like I said earlier, if we drop down to the teens for a few days like we did a few years ago, you might lose them if you don't protect the roots at all.
Right.
But with the fragrance and the spring blooms, I really think it's worth the risk.
Okay, so we were talking about the Carolina jessamine being from East Texas, liking a little bit more moisture. What about the Pandora vine?
It can handle a little more drought than the Carolina jessamine, but still a pretty regular watering schedule. It's not, I wouldn't put it on the super tough. It's definitely not a native vine. It's just an adapted introduction. It's not known to be aggressive or take over, so we're not worried about it becoming an invasive species.
And how does it twine? Does it require support?
It definitely needs something to twine on, something more than just like vertical posts. It's not going to adhere to a wall or wood. It definitely needs some horizontal structures to wrap around.
Okay, well, cool. All right. Well, coming up next is the native coral honeysuckle, and this is, whenever I think of coral honeysuckle, I think of hummingbirds.
Definitely. And one of the things I like about the coral honeysuckle as well is it's a summer bloomer. A lot of our vines are spring and fall, or just fall, but to get these summer blooms and attract your hummingbirds and butterflies to them.
Right.
It's also a much more manageable size. It's 12,
it's kind of shrubby
15
for
foot.
a vine almost, you know?
Can be. Being woody stemmed, it's also really tough. It can handle some drought. It can definitely handle our limestone. Really happy with this native vine.
Yeah. Well, we have next to it incense passion vine, which I've grown in my garden. I absolutely love this plant.
It's even though it's again not native, it's my favorite vine. I love the fragrance. It's delicious, for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
The flowers of this particular passion vine are really intricate. A lot of contrast in the flower itself of the yellow and purple. I could
They
go
almost
on.
look alien. They're bizarre looking flowers,
They
but
are.
beautiful.
They are one of the one little tip on the passion flowers of all the varieties is the only way I've found to bring the flowers inside, because they have such a short little stem behind them,
Right.
is to float them in a bowl of water.
Right.
And you can bring that fragrance right into the dining table.
Well, they're spectacular flowers. They attract the fritillary butterflies like crazy.
Yeah, pollinators, other pollinators as well.
And it's just spectacular. But this is one, folks do need to be aware of its aggressive tendencies.
Definitely, it will take over. It will come up, like you said, half of your yard away from where you plant it.
Yeah. Be aware.
Be aware. What I like to do with mine, because I'm such a fan, is to dig those up and give them to my friends.
Okay.
Just try to get a little roots with them.
All right. Well, next to me is a delicate little plant, but looking at the foliage closely, you can definitely tell it's a bauhinia.
Definitely.
And I love the bauhinias. I love the whole plant family. And I'm unfamiliar with this plant, so tell me a little bit more about it.
A lot of us are unfamiliar with this one, which is why I brought it. The flowers on it are spectacular. It is another spring bloomer. It's a lighter shade of pink than the Pandora vine.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more intricate. It's more intricate than some of the bauhinia shrubs and trees we're accustomed to.
Well, that sounds great.
It definitely lives up to its name of orchid vine when it blooms.
Mm-hmm.
Goes dormant to the ground in the cold. It's a perennial vine, a little on the slower growing speed as well. So it's not, again, not going to take over.
Right.
Just a little trellis for it, because it won't adhere to wood either.
Right. So I'm thinking maybe even a container would be great for this.
Definitely would work in a container.
Yeah. Or a plant to showcase on the patio and enjoy while it's in bloom, and then you can just kind of gently set it to the background when it's not in bloom.
Definitely would work.
Yeah. Well, I'm crazy about the bauhinia family, and it's nice to know there's a new introduction on that. I'm looking across the way here at the bignonia, or the crossvine. This is Tangerine Beauty, which is a cultivar, right?
It is a cultivar of the native red. The native red, I'm a fan of.
I like it.
It doesn't seem to bloom for as long of a period as the
No.
Tangerine Beauty.
No, that's one of the great benefits of this one, a much more prolonged period of bloom.
Definitely. They're both equally deer resistant. We have one at the nursery exposed to as many deer as anyone in Westlake, and they ignore it like it's not there.
Well, I love this plant. It can be a tad rambunctious.
Definitely will twine anywhere it can get to.
It will grow up the sides of your trees or fences or buildings, gracefully though.
Gracefully.
And provide in the spring a very heavy show of flowers, but then sporadically throughout the year.
That Tangerine Beauty, yeah, sporadically through the summer and into the fall. I personally haven't seen any blooms in the fall yet, but it's still a nice long bloom season.
Yeah. Well, I have one that does bloom all the way through the fall. So
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. It's a great plant, and whether the native or the Tangerine Beauty, I highly recommend it. Now, you've brought a clematis, and this is one I know that you're really big on. Our producer, Linda, really loves this plant as well. So tell me more about this particular variety, clematis.
The Clematis armandii is an evergreen clematis, where most of what we're used to seeing are perennials, and all the perennial clematis I know of, all the native clematis I know of are perennials as well. This one's true evergreen. We had one at the nursery for 10, 15 years, and it took over a whole wooden fence. It got to the point where if you didn't know the nursery, you wouldn't know there was a fence under it. In the shade, in deep shade, this got dappled under the oaks all day long, and that was it. Beautiful, very fragrant spring blooms that are actually, often this big around. And pretty showy, pretty steady display, a nice long blooming season from mid-spring into early summer.
Sold.
Yeah, it's a winner for the shade, for sure. It's a hard niche to fill.
Yeah, when I think of clematis, and I think about something like the Texas natives, for example, or some of the cultivars that have come from those, that they like to have their feet in the shade, but then they like to get up, the heads like to get up into the sun. And this one, though, grows nicely in shade.
I would keep it in the shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours never really tried to get out of it.
Okay.
It stuck right. I mean, it covered a fence line and filled the whole thing, but it never saw it try to move up the trees at all.
Okay. Well, real briefly, one other plant that you like, we don't have with us on the set here, is morning glory. And I love the morning glory. I think it was the first plant I ever planted as a kid.
Actually, that was, well, not as a kid. It was a peach tree. But that's another story. Big fan of morning glories. There's a lot of variety in morning glories, from the native little purple ones to the heavenly blues that are so popular.
I love the heavenly blue. Well, Colby, you've brought some great plants for our audience to consider. I really appreciate you being with us. So thank you very much, and good luck to all our friends at Barton Springs Nursery.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now let's check in with special guest Jim Comas for Down to Earth.